I grew up in Hugo, Oklahoma, lived there my entire life. I have a great family, grew up in a godly family, grew up in church, went to the same church my entire life until I was 16. And we felt the Lord just calling us somewhere else. I remember going and not even knowing, why the Lord would be moving us. We loved the church that we were a part of, but we felt like the Lord was just calling us elsewhere. And we had always been a music, worship-oriented family, and done that together, served in ministry together. And the church we began going to, they were in need of people to help with worship. And so we began doing that. It's funny, how the Lord does things and calls us to things, and we don't even know why and what He's doing. And I remember within just a few weeks, the pastor resigned, and we questioned, did we miss it? Why would the Lord call us somewhere where the pastor's going to resign? But funny thing is, within the 3 months, maybe 4, my husband's family, my husband's dad, came to be the pastor at our church. So we began doing worship together and leading worship, and even after that, the Lord took us on to do full-time ministry somewhere else, and we've been doing that ever since. 2016, we planted Impact Church, and to watch what God has done, it's been incredible. We have 4 kids, and we lost a baby before our first daughter. It was hard. It was that time in life where we questioned everything. I remember saying so many times, if I believe for a second that the Lord did this, I don't know that I could serve Him. And I remember the Lord just taking us through such a time where we were just able to pull into each other, just to lean into each other. So we have 4 beautiful kids now, and have this incredible church that the Lord is using us in and to lead. But what He calls us to isn't easy, and He's called us to do the hard. And I remember always thinking, I don't have a story, I don't have a testimony. My childhood was honestly a pretty normal childhood, just great parents, and not a whole lot of hard that happened. But I remember really finding Him, really knowing Him in a different way when we went to plant the church. I remember even before we planted the church, and the Lord just kept saying, get out in the community. My husband and I, we both grew up in church. We're in church every time the doors were open. But, and our parents did a great job, but we never really walked out being the church. And that's what the Lord just kept saying. And, it was a time before we had even opened the church doors. So we weren't going to see any physical return. But that wasn't what we felt like He was doing it for. He was doing something in us and helping us to learn to serve and love others just because. That's what we're called to do. So we did that it was a little bit over a year. We just began loving on people in the community. We began walking downtown and circling the city physically in prayer. And funny thing is, when we do things that we think we're doing, I know it did something for the city and before we even planted the church, but I think it did the most in us because we were walking it out and doing what he was telling us to. We've done it from the beginning with our kids right beside us, walking it all out. But when we did it, just seeing that it wasn't about just starting a church. It was really just about learning to be the church. And you know, I had always been, I remember asking Jesus into my heart like when I was 5 or 6, but it really wasn't until, honestly, in the last few years when we began the journey of planning the church. And I really began to walk out being a believer, walk out being a disciple of his. This last year, I went on a journey called Quest, and I realized that I had began to think, you know, and still struggle with it today, honestly, if I do all the right things, I'll earn his love, and that I needed to earn his love. If I do just the right things, he'll give me just the right things. And just even between Quest and now, learning that he loves me, but even in loving me, he's called me to do the hard. I wear, you know, the Just Be Brave shirt because I believe that if we're not doing something that requires us to be brave, we're probably not doing what he's called us to do. In the last few years, our family has just experienced a lot of hard. And it's finding it within yourself that you want to love him and know him deeper. And I had someone say to me, "You remind me of Jacob," and I hated that because I don't want to walk with a limp. But the Lord showed me that the big thing about Jacob was that he knew God deeper, and that's how I know him deeper, is because of the hard. I thought that what he called us to would be easier. I thought what he called me to, because I was obedient, there would just be so much blessing. And there is blessing, you know, but there's a lot of hard in it. Even in getting the no and still having to trust that what he's saying is true. You know, we had people that loved us that tried to get us to do other things other than plant a church. We tried to get us to do other things than plant a church. And we love our church, and our family that we have in it, but it was hard. The transitions in life have been hard, that we've been through. This last year, I guess almost 2 years ago, we felt the Lord leading us to foster. And in May, we got a sweet girl named Ariel, and we fell in love. And we thought we were going to get to forever keep her. And it's funny, we paint pictures, and I had a picture in my head. I had an expectation in my head of how it would go. Kind of how I did with the church, kind of how I did with starting a family. And then, you know, in starting a family, we lost a baby. You know, in starting the church, things fell through. But we began fostering her, and as of this year, in January, she was moved to another family. You know, my brother and sister-in-law, they were able to adopt, and I thought, this is going to be our story. This is going to be it. We're going to complete our family with this sweet girl. And God didn't see it that way. And he had a different plan. And still to this day, you know, I struggle a little bit, but seeing that he's using it, I love differently because of it, because of her. Our family is different because of her, but in a good way. I'm still working to trust Him. He's teaching me to trust what it looks like to trust Him is that He has good intentions for me. And sometimes that's hard because He allows the hard, and it's not easy to understand. It's not easy to walk through. So here we are, you know, in this year of 2018, that not just losing this sweet girl that we thought we would have forever in our home, although she's forever in our hearts. It's not just that, you know, it's losing loved ones. It's just this year. And I remember at the first of the year, my husband, the word for the year was overflow. And honestly, this year has felt like anything but overflow. It's felt hard and empty and draining. But a huge thing that the Lord just keeps so softly teaching me is because I don't feel strong, because I don't feel like I have it together, I have to lean into Him to be strong, or for the strength, because here I am and trying to walk out, you know, healing for our family, trying to lead myself, lead my family, and with my husband, and it's just nothing like I pictured. And we paint those pictures, we have those expectations, and I did of what I thought all this would look like, and expecting to be over things by now, and I'm far from over it, you know. But I'm just trying to walk it out and take it one day at a time. Learning to have grace for myself, that I don't have to have it all together, that God just day by day is going to help me piece things together. Because I don't know what tomorrow's going to be like, but I know I need Him to get through tomorrow. And but walking through those times where we're going to be mad, we're going to hurt, because it is. It's just, life is hard, but the things that He's brought from it, the glimpses of Him that I can see, all the way back to taking us to a church that was 20 minutes from us for years. But I think about how we never done that, I wouldn't have met my husband. And to moving, to experiencing the hard in ministry, to then plan a church and walk things out. And if it had been easy, would we cherish it as much? Would we love it as much? Would we? I mean, I would easily take the easy road right now because I'm tired of the hard. You know, it's messy. Life is that way. But right now, it's just choosing and trying to believe that I know He's got to bring something good out of this. He's got to bring beauty out of this. I went through this last year, honestly, even this year, of just feeling like I can't see Him, I can't hear Him, I I don't know what I think, I don't know what I feel, and slowly coming back to a place of I just see glimpses, I see moments that I know He's there, and I'm always knowing in my head, but struggling in my heart to trust, and just knowing that we never arrive. Doesn't matter how much I serve, doesn't matter all that I do, you never arrive to a place that I'm gonna have done enough or be enough. That if I ever feel enough, like I am enough, then what do I need God for? So we're always in that place that we feel like a mess, and that's okay because He uses our mess, and that life is crazy, but if it weren't crazy, we wouldn't need Him. We wouldn't need to lean into Him. Seeing that, you know, when we planted the church, that God brought me church family, like not just church family that I'd always called church family before, friends that are like family for me, that have walked with me through the heart, that I know that through tough seasons that I wouldn't have gotten through. If everything went like I pictured, I wouldn't have what I needed, because He brought me things that I didn't know I needed, and even with Ariel, He used it. I know I don't know everything He used, but He used it. My grandpa passed away a month ago, and I can already see, even through that, how He's using it. But sometimes we don't see, and I know that's why the Word says that faith is by, you know, that it's not because we can see. We just got to trust, and trusting's hard, but learning each day to trust. And some days I don't trust at all. Some days I don't trust well. Some days I don't love well. But believing that that's where His grace comes in, and He covers me. He covers me. And I heard something recently that just resonated so much with me, that God takes pleasure in helping me through the hard. And I always thought He's probably up there like, Amanda, get it together, get it together. But He takes pleasure in helping us through the hard. He wants to see us through. He wants to help us through. It's hard to think that He would, such this great friend, would let us experience the hard, would allow the hard. But He knows that's the only way He can really use us. Because if we didn't have the hard, I probably wouldn't have anything to say. I would pray differently, but I do pray differently because of the hard. I struggle. Even as a pastor's wife, as if that makes me some above anything else, because it doesn't. I struggle. It's hard. Life's hard. But it's choosing each morning, each day, that I know I need Him above anything else. To be a mom, to be a wife, to be a sister, to be a daughter, to be a friend. I can't be it all, and do it all right, but He wants to help me, and He wants to help all of us if I'll just lean in. if I'll lean into Him, He'll help me. My name is Amanda, and this is my Just Be story.